Dad refused to come to my graduation and went to my brother's ceremony. Instead, I said no problem and went no contact. So, I'm 18 meters and I have a half brother who is the same age as me. We'll call him Cameron. Our dad got 2 women pregnant around the same time. I'm older by 6 months. My dad chose Cameron's mom over mine and they're married now. Cameron is his parents only anyway, so I've always felt like I was just a backup son for my dad. I know he does love me, but not as much as Cameron. I live an hour and a half away from him, but he would always make the drive to come see me when I was younger and still does to this day. If I ever need anything, he'll make sure I get it. He took me on trips all the time with just me and him, but still I felt like an outsider. He would constantly put me second to Cameron. If we both had sports games on the same day, he would always go to Cameron's with his wife. Once when I had an award ceremony, he couldn't come because Cameron was sick. It was just a cold BTU. When I wanted him to teach me how to drive, he said he couldn't because he promised Cameron he would teach him first, but that he'd help me after Cameron got his license. I could list off a bunch of other examples. My dad would show up to my stuff, but if Cameron had something going on at the same time, he wouldn't come. Cameron and I aren't friends. We get along fine if we're together, but neither of us is going out of the way to talk to the other. I think he's spoiled. And obviously our dads favored our dad. And his mom did him no favors because his grades are bad and his life has no direction. He didn't apply to any colleges and he won't even get a part-time job. We're both graduating high school this year. His school district released their graduation schedule after mine, and of course our graduations are on the same day at the same time. We live an hour and a half apart, so obviously our dad can't make it to both. He's known my graduation date for weeks before Cameron learned his. We already had plans for him to come and spend the day here. But I knew as soon as I saw that schedule he was going to flake. At first, he said he wasn't sure what he was going to do. He's been avoiding the topic for weeks, but our graduations are on the 29th, so he has to decide now. Well, yesterday he took me to dinner. He told me that he was going to go to Cameron's graduation. He said it was because Cameron's grandparents weren't going to be able to make it and Cameron would only have his mom. Well, I have my mom, stepdad, siblings, and grandparents all coming to mine. I'm not an idiot. It was just an excuse that I knew would be coming. He tried to soften the blow by promising me he'd make up for it by taking me on a graduation trip anywhere I wanted to go, even though he had already promised me that months ago. He's taking his wife and Cameron on a family trip to Hawaii in June. It's supposed to be Cameron's graduation trip, but he promised he and I would have our own trip. Now, all of a sudden, that trip is supposed to also be a makeup for missing my graduation, so I told him, okay, I want to go to this one weekend event that is on the same week he's going to Hawaii. He told me he can't because that's when they're going to Hawaii. I didn't actually want to go to this event. I was just proving a point. I told him to postpone his Hawaii trip so he can take me to the event. He said he can't because everything is already paid for and non-refundable. I told him that he's missing my high school graduation. The least he can do is make me the priority when it comes to the graduation trips. He said I'd have to pick a different weekend. I told him he doesn't actually care about making it up to me. He's only okay with what I want so long as it doesn't interfere with his real family. He denied it and told me to try to understand the position he's in. I told him straight up that he always chooses Cameron over me. For once, I want to be the first choice, so I said I'll have a ticket ready for him, but that if he doesn't come, I'll know where I stand in his life. I don't care about a makeup trip. Either he shows up and we still have a relationship, or I'm just done with him. He told me that I was being unreasonable, and maybe I am, but I'm still standing my ground. I already know he's not going to come even after my ultimatum, so am I for throwing away our entire relationship over this update. Some people wanted an update to my post. My graduation was on Wednesday, surprising everyone, especially me. My dad actually chose me in my graduation, not at first, but he did come. So what happened after I gave him the ultimatum was he kept trying to talk to me as if nothing was wrong. He was asking me to spend time with him a lot and asking when I was free, basically either feeling guilty or trying to compensate for choosing Cameron. I never met with him. Cameron messaged me to tell me to stop being an and to get over it, cause apparently our dad was stressed out over the whole thing. I just blocked Cameron and moved on. On the day of my graduation, my dad told me he was coming down to spend the day with me before he had to go home to go to Cameron's graduation. At first, I told him not to bother cause there's point in showing up here if you're just going to leave before the actual ceremony, but he ended up coming. Anyway, we had a small get-together at my house with my mom's side of the family. My dad was there acting as if nothing was wrong. It was annoying. I refused to take pictures with him because I told him I'm taking pictures at my graduation. If you want pictures with me, you can show up a few hours before the ceremony. He said he had to head out. I said, goodbye forever, and he pulled me aside to talk. He was trying to justify his decision. Again, I told him I was serious about what I said. I will not talk to him ever again. I made it clear that this isn't something I'm going to be mad about for a bit and then get over. I'm not going to call him crying in a few years saying I'm sorry. He asked why I was being like this, and I just let it all out. I told him I'm sick and tired of being second place all the time. My entire life I've been told that he can't show up for me because Cameron needs him, or he promised Cameron first. He at the one time I had my graduation date set and planned first, he still cancels on me for Cameron. I asked him to give me one good reason why he has to go to Cameron's graduation over mine specifically. No, this is a tough situation. I can't be in two places at once, he said, because if he doesn't go to Cameron's graduation, he has to deal with a pissed off wife, and his entire home life will be tense. I asked him why can his wife and Cameron ever be the ones he apologizes to, and asked to try to understand why do I always have to be purposely handed the short straw. He didn't have an answer. I told him I hope Cameron gets his life together because right now he's on a nosedive trajectory that ends with him still living at home rent-free in his 30s with a girlfriend he can't afford to give a ring to, let alone a wedding, and 3 kids who are being raised by my dad's wife. I didn't care anymore at that point. It's true, Cameron's a loser. And I told my dad good luck cause he's the one that's taking care of you when you're old. I'm out. I guarantee Cameron takes their money and puts his parents in the absolute cheapest nursing home he can find. They failed him by spoiling him and treating him like he's perpetually 5 years old. Dad still ended up leaving. Anyway, I refused to hug him and told him I'm done with him. That kind of ruined my mood. But once I got to school and started hanging with my friends, I decided to let it go. I wanted to enjoy my grad night and just forget all the after the ceremony. I was shocked to see my dad walking towards me. I was positive he was going to Cameron's graduation. Like gun to my head, get this answer right or you die. Well, I guess I'd be dead cause I was 100% sure he'd choose Cameron. He already did, but I guess he turned around and came back, so he hugged me and told me that he's sorry for everything and how he's treated me, and that he does love me just as much as Cameron, even if he's been bad at showing it. I don't really believe the last part, but he showed up, so that's what I'm focusing on. Cameron was pissed, of course, and messaged me from a different number to at me. He was calling me a crybaby and selfish, saying Dad only went to my graduation because I threw a fit. He doesn't understand that it wasn't me having a tantrum. It was a last straw situation for me. I just sent him a picture of me and our dad at my graduation and told him to get over it. Then I blocked that number to him. I'm glad he knows what it's like to be second choice just once. I'm sure our dad is already bending over backwards to make it up to Cameron anyway, so he'll live. Our joint graduation party is going to be awkward, but hopefully we'll just keep our distance from each other. Oh, and don't worry, I'm not delusional. I know my dad is just going to go back to the same old routine, and now if I ever bring up his unfairness again, he'll always be able to throw in my face that he came to my graduation over Cameron's. It'll probably be his trump card. NGL, it did feel good to have everyone on my dad with me in my last post cause I was pissed off at him when I posted. I know that he does love me though. Still, I think I'm going to take some advice I got in that post. I'm not cutting my dad off, but I'm going to stop trying to have a lifetime of him awarding me the silver medal no matter how well I do, and I'm tired of it. Cameron can be his favorite son uncontested. From now on, I'm just going to live my life and keep my dad at an arm's length. I'm not going to try to force him to prove his love for me anymore.